Is Conceicao blocking Sancho? Yes. Is Dusan Vlahovic blocking Jonathan David? Yes. An entire team of Juve on the Mercato, on sale. We'll speak about that and much more in today's video. Ciao Juventini of the world. My name is Giuseppe. Welcome back on the channel. I'm back home after 2 weeks, nearly 2 weeks spent in USA. Everything went so fast. Everything was nearly perfect, of course, except of the Manchester City loss 5-2. It was a huge one, huh? It was absolutely not how I wanted my trip to end. Look, we were already qualified before playing that game, but now finishing second means that we play a big game on Tuesday against Real Madrid, and of course, we'll do it here, a watch along. If you didn't yet, please put a maximum of like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to put that notification ring on so that you don't miss the very first watch along of the Club World Cup. Look, that big loss against Manchester City was a big, huge reality check. Let's be honest, the choices of Igor Tudor to rotate before that big game, a reality check on the players. If we'll try to speak about it in today's video. If not, we have some moments to speak about it, especially when we'll start back the lives probably already tonight. But I tell you, honestly, it didn't have any impact on the dream that I lived there for 2 weeks. I have so many stories to tell. I have so many stories to share. Like, for example, the post game that I was not able to do here on the channel, but I was able to do it in the taxi, in the Uber, together with David Trezeguet. I have a story to tell about a breakfast, about La Nazionale with Barzagli, a breakfast with Arsène Wenger, where we spoke about Comolli and Juventus, the long discussion I had with certain first team players of Juve, like Savona, Rui, Adzic, Kenan Yildiz, Rugani, and much more. The love that I received from all the Juventini in USA, that was exceptional. It was crazy. I grew up, honestly, as a content creator, but also as a human, from a human point of view. Then, did I upload every day? I tried to, but it was extremely difficult for a few reasons. The first one is because it was hectic. I couldn't. It went so fast. It was really work, so I didn't have always the time to. I tried to wake up at 5:30 a.m., at 6 a.m. to upload, or really extremely late in the evening. Not always I was able to. And the second reason, super important, because keeping up with all the news was nearly impossible. Nearly impossible if it was not for OneFootball, because I watched only 3 games live, the ones of Juve. The other ones I was not even able to watch them on television, so luckily OneFootball was there to keep up to date with all the scores in real time, but also with all the news. They gave me the news about the transfers, about Juve, about the opponents, super important. If, like me, you are in difficulty because of the timing, because of all the games that are being played in USA, to keep up, please download OneFootball for free so that you're up to date with all the news. It's just fantastic. You have the QR code, you can go there, or with the link into the description. Now, that being said, what are OneFootball telling us? That Endrick, that didn't play in the group stages, he was not even there because he had that muscular injury, is going back to Real Madrid, and he will probably be on the bench on Tuesday to play against Juve. Will he play or not? This is still to be monitored, but Endrick could be an extra thread offensively for Juve. And then Giuntoli, he had a target with Thiago Motta, and it was Hansko. If we didn't speak about him since a few weeks, looks like it could possibly be an opportunity again. There is Al Nasser that is on the player, but at the moment Hansko is saying no, I'm waiting, I'm still dreaming to join Juventus that has a priority. He's going for defenders, and we'll come back on defenders in a second, but first of all speak about what is on the thumbnail, what is in the title. Dusan Vlahovic that is blocking Jonathan David. Look, I told you before leaving in USA, the second striker will be difficult if Dusan Vlahovic is not taking a decision. There was Milan really big on the player. They're still on the player if he would reduce his salary. We were on names like Osimhen and on names like Gyökeres before I traveled to USA. We are coming back. These two names are not at the moment on the radar of Juve. Looks like they were scratched from that list. And now we are going all in for Jonathan David. But even Jonathan David, we cannot seal the deal before Dusan Vlahovic. We solved that situation, and looks like it's not going really well because he has the intention of not extending, not reducing his salary, and staying one more year at Juve at 12 million euro salary. This is a huge big problem because we make a choice. We need to make a choice. What do we do with Kolo Muani? We keep him for an extra year, talking with Paris Saint-Germain, and maybe already opening a possibility to make that permanent at Juve, that he will become our first striker with Dusan Vlahovic Vlahovic, a rotational player on the bench, the most expensive player of Serie A on the bench, which will be a total drama, but then forget about Jonathan David, or we go for Jonathan David, renouncing on a player like Colomoni, which according to me would be a total disaster. That's where we need to do. So what is the situation at the moment for the strikers? Dusan Vlahovic is there at the moment, refusing every situation until maybe there will be a big offer from a club, and I'm not speaking a big offer for Juve that is ready to accept any fee, but more for the salary, and also a team that is liked by Dusan Vlahovic. And in the meanwhile, Jonathan David is waiting. He is in USA playing the Gold Cup with Canada. He's waiting for Juve because everything has already been agreed. Also, the other teams that were on the player, like Fenerbahce, they already go to other targets because they know that Jonathan David, if it's depending on him, already has a team. If it depends for Juve, after Osimhen, after Gyökeres, that were not possible, well, they chose their striker to be in duo, or actually there for Juventus offensive lineup as number 9s. It is Colomoni and Jonathan David, but all depends on Dusan Vlahovic. The other news, Conceicao that is blocking Sancho, and I know that here we will open a debate. If for Jonathan David, I believe that the majority of Juventini, they already made their choice. Well, for Conceicao and or Sancho, that will be difficult. What can we do? Or we take Conceicao permanently, paying that release clause of 30 million that Juventus is trying to reduce, but Porto, they don't want to listen to it. Or we don't, and we go for Sancho. For Sancho, the breaking news are that you can negotiate with Manchester United. All the other teams are already going away. So Sancho, Juve, there is an open way to go for that English player. On the other side, the salary that I was telling you of 50 million euro looks like there are some change. I don't know if it was gross or not, but looks like we can go even potentially to a 5.5 million euro net salary, which is actually absolutely feasible for Juve. Sancho is a player that at Dortmund was extremely great, was just fantastic. A Sancho Yildiz behind a player like Colomoni would be really strong for a team that needs to continue to do what they did against Al Ain and also against Vedat, but this time they will need to be able to do it also against big teams and not like we did against Manchester City. So scoring goal and being also offensively a threat with different options. I know that we opened the debate because a lot of people, they want Conceicao to stay. He would love to stay as well. Juventus also, if we are able to reduce it, otherwise we go towards Sancho. A Sancho that is considered by Comolli and the people that are taking care of the Mercato view at the moment a step up, a progression, an improvement towards Conceicao. So let me know what you think about it, but we know it. Comolli, at the moment, we have no official sporting director, no official technical director, so he's working on these fronts, but he's also working on the Blitz. Blitz on the Mercato. Mercato is crazy. Official Mercato will start on the 1st of July, and now he's accelerated. Comolli selling, but also signing new players. And one of the players that he wants already to sign is a player like Wesley. Wesley that is playing at Flamengo. We saw that beautiful reunion between Danilo, Alexandro and Juve's team, because these two players are playing at the moment with the Brazilian team. They were there. I was there as well. I didn't take any picture because out of respect, it was absolutely not the moment for me to create content, but I was able to assist of the reunion between the two Brazilian ones and the ex-team with all the players, with beautiful hugs, beautiful handshakes, beautiful words. Was beautiful, was emotional, honestly. Well, these two players, they speak every single day with Wesley, telling them and telling him how important that transfer would be from Brazil to Europe, from Flamengo to Juve. And Comolli, he understood it really well, and tonight he will be there for Flamengo Bayern Munich. He will be at the stadium to monitor in Miami that game, watching closely and possibly also speaking with the entourage of the Brazilian player. Will that be the first signing for Juventus? That's right back, because we need to reinforce our right side. You saw how Alberto Costa defensively has been exposed by a player like Jeremy Doku. Well, Comolli is trying to accelerate. Then he needs to sell. He needs to sell, and he also needs to go for players in. What are the sales from Comolli? What is he thinking about? Well, a lot, because there is an entire team to sell. Starting with Dusan Vlahovic, that we already talked about, continuing with Douglas Luiz, that after 45 minutes against Al Ain, I know that a lot of Juventini, they said, we need to keep him, we need to give him more playing time, we need to understand if he can fit. Well, looks like Tudor already decided. Yes, great, fantastic, but this is not the player that I can count on. For what reason? Probably for off the field for Huddersfield way of behaving, not really included in the team, not really there with the other teammates, a bit more isolated, a bit more already thinking I am out of Juve and I already give up. It could be, yeah? Now 11 players on sale like Perin, Weah, Rugani, Jalot, Kostic, on top of that probably also Jonas Rui, Miretti, Arthur, Douglas Luiz, Milik, Vlahovic, Mbangula, an entire team for sale. What are the first rumors? Well, for Adzic alone could happen to the team of Inzaghi, no, not to Al Hilal, but to Palermo, to the other Inzaghi, Filippo Inzaghi, to Palermo, that is actually trying to create a mega team to immediately go to Serie A, to have a lot of playing time. So Adzic interest there is from Palermo. Perin could go in another team. Pay attention to Atalanta, because he has a really big relationship with Juric, because Carnesecchi could possibly leave, not going to Juve, but could possibly leave. Dafara having some chances with Avellino, also a team that is promoted in Serie B, and they are looking for the player that I told you always how much improvement he already did and how much potential he has. So Dafara could leave on loan also there. Then Rugani, there is an interest from Sassuolo that wants to stay in Serie A, also to reinforce themselves. They are looking for experience. So Rugani could be a reinforcement there. And then Kostic interest from Atalanta and Roma. He did a test. Tudor tested him because he saw him really doing well in training session. Didn't work really out against Manchester City. So Kostic has been labeled as a flop, and not a player that Tudor is counting on, and like all the other players that we just mentioned. I told you the priority more than the striker is the defense, because even if we didn't concede any goal against Alain and just one against Vidat, a lot of time we have been exposed. It's something that we really need to work on, and the favorite on that list is Balerdi, the captain of l'Olympique de Marseille. It's tough, huh? It's really tough, because Marseille, they don't want to hear from it, they don't want to sell him, but Juve will continue to push on a player like Balerdi. Pay attention on the name of Hansko, that is still waiting to come to Juve. Then you have players like Aguerd from West Ham, you have Lukumi, that is a left foot player from Bologna, and then a player like Chabot from Stuttgart that could be a newness on top of Araujo from Barcelona. I can tell you that this is the player that I would not like to join Juve, because expensive, because of the salary, because of what happened in January. Don't forget about what happened in January. So, but there are some alternatives, and looks like Comolli understood that the defense is something that we really need to reinforce, because Bremer is not fit yet, because we don't know when we will have 100% Bremer. Juve against Real Madrid, and that's a big one to end the video. Juve will play against Real Madrid. Conceicao could potentially be back from the first minute, and the intentions of Tudor is not to rotate anymore. I think it was a mistake in a way, because if we were able to do better, if we started with a starting lineup that was better, it would have created a lot of confidence to the player, to not only being able to beat two teams that were really accessible, but also against a big team, and avoiding that big reality check. On the other side, looks like against Real Madrid, he wants to go back to a starting lineup that at the moment is what he considered the best. Di Gregorio into the goal, Kalulu, Gatti that will be back after a huge big injury of Savona, Kelly on the left side in the three-man defense, Alberto Costa on the right, Locatelli Thuram in the midfield for the first time starting in that Club World Cup, the one that did really well, the ones that did really well in Serie A, and then Cambiaso back starting on the left with Conceicao and Yildiz behind Kolo Muani. Look, I was not happy, of course, with the starting lineup against Manchester City. On the other side, if you already qualified, if it was the moment to understand the level of the B players, of the player that could enter a la Kostic, etc., it was the moment to do it. A big reality check that has no consequences on Juve. If you are able to beat Real Madrid, it has also no consequences financially. If we were able to beat Manchester City, then of course we would have had an easier path, that at the moment we have not. Is it a pity? Yes, of course it is a pity. On the other side, I don't want to stay too much on it. Even with the strongest team, when you are looking at the bench of City, if you are looking at who entered there, Holland, Cherki, Foden, we are not at the level. This is a big reality check. Del Piero spoke and he said, look, I am a Juventino, I know it, but the reality is that today I don't think that Juventus will go through against Real Madrid. I heard about the David Trezeguet speaking about Juve. This is a bit the feeling that we all have as Juventini. Can we blame Tudor? Probably yes. On the other side, maybe no, because this is still not the team that Igor Tudor has chosen. There are zero new signing except of the return of Rugani and Kostic. Rugani with 0 minutes, Kostic that played the entire game against Manchester City. So let's wait what Comolli will be able to do on the transfer market to create a team that is a bit closer to what Igor Tudor wants to do. Let's see, let's follow that up. But one thing is sure, I am back here on the channel to report you every single thing. If you didn't, please download, link is in the description, OneFootball. If not, do it now. And then maximum of like, don't forget to subscribe with a maximum of likes, with a maximum of interaction. Grazie, forza, Juve.